All right, welcome to this week's Q&A. This week's Q&A is about what to do post-contest. A lot of questions have come in about not just one, but a few via email about what to do post-comp. And there's a couple of questions this week about reverse dieting and my thoughts. So I thought I'd just do this general blog on basically my thoughts. So first of all, off what to do post-comp. Now, a lot of people talk about reverse dieting. Now, for me, I'm not really a fan of the term reverse dieting, and the reason is because I don't really feel it addresses what the underlying problem is when someone finishes a comp, and that the problem is one's relationship with food. So, I mean, there's a multitude of reasons why people will blow out post-comp. I think a lot of them are around people's relationships with food and their relationships with their body, and also their ideas about what is healthy and what foods they need to consume to get the ideal body. So with that said, I mean, the default setting for anyone, I believe, who is going to compete should really be one of health. So, most people who compete, they start off as a healthy person who really enjoys physical culture. Now, when I say physical culture, they enjoy training, they enjoy being physical, whether it be, in the gym or, just exerting themselves physically. They want to be around that, and they obviously like eating, good foods. Now, what happens a lot of the time is these people do that, and they see a competition, and they say, I'm going to compete in my first fitness model comp or a physique comp, and they do that, and maybe the advice they get isn't really all that good, and it's quite restrictive in what they can eat, and your hormones can do funny things. It puts a lot of stress on the body, and a lot of it comes from depriving themselves for so long that when they finally do compete, they feel like they now can add all these things that previously they'd never eat before. Another thing that I'd say as well is that it's the identity that one prescribes themselves through this process. And I'd hate to say it, but a lot of the time when someone does their first show and they compete, that they say this statement to themselves, I am a fitness model, or I am a bodybuilder, or whatever, I'm a figure competitor. And because of that statement of their identity, now they start to fall for, things that don't fit them as a holistic person. So meaning that before they started really getting into training, they were eating quite healthy. They were eating things that were hunted, fish, gathered, and plucked. Once they competed, they attached themselves this identity of who they are in this world. So now all of a sudden their diet goes from generally being quite good with, really refining it to compete, to now this thing of they have an off season and they have an on season. So in the off season, they're going to eat whatever they want, and in the on season, they're going to be super strict and, basically deprive themselves. And it's this case of on and off, when really it doesn't need to be. The default setting, when you buy an iPhone, the iPhone has a default setting in it. And I would encourage the people who are watching this video to really look at your default setting, before you competed. What was your default setting? Is it one that has a healthy relationship with food? Is it one that has a healthy relationship with their body? If it's not, then I would actually, discourage you to compete until you really get those factors basically taken care of, because competing can add a lot more fuel to that, a lot more fuel to the fire, and exacerbate things further and make it kind of a much bigger problem, if that makes sense. So in a nutshell, I don't think that after a comp people need to reverse diet. I think they need to reconsider their beliefs, idealisms, and identity of who they are, and create that in a sense of they are a healthy person who eats healthy foods that build and nourish their body. If you do nothing else but made decisions and choices from that place, you're going to be okay, because healthy people don't eat genetically modified Pop-Tarts and all the rest of it. It's not a food that is naturally drawn to someone. It's not a food that grows out of the ground, basically. And I'm a big advocate of hunted fish, gathered and plucked. So we want to be eating things that really build and nourish our bodies. Pop-Tarts and Special K and all the rest of it, just don't do it. Not to say that you might have that whenever, like maybe once a week, if that. But even still, if you really truly believe that you're a healthy person, you're probably still not going to be making those kind of choices. It really comes from society's beliefs that are ingrained in us and taught to us that these foods are normal, when these foods are not normal. And again, this is where the competitor, I think, falls down, is they buy into social idealisms of eating when it's nothing more than marketing and someone trying to sell you something. For thousands of years, we've eaten things that are hunted, fish, gathered, and plucked. In the 1950s, basically advent of McDonald's and fast food hasn't been around for that long. So these foods are not physiologically normal from any perspective, but from a consumer and society point of view, they're sold to us as part of the social fabric of day-to-day living. And that really, from a physiological perspective, it doesn't bear any merit whatsoever. So that's food for thought. Another thing that I would say for people to consider post-comp is the expectation that you place upon yourself. A lot of the time people have this fantasy that they're going to maintain contest condition all year round. And you know, for the most part, that's just, well, I mean, it's just not so, because contest condition by definition is to be meant to be held for a very short period of time, especially when you're water manipulating, sodium manipulating, and all the rest of it. It's to peak on the day. So, you know, when competitors step off stage, you know, they're going to reach for obviously some water, and you know, where if they are manipulating sodium, when they bring sodium back in, obviously they're going to hold fluid, so that might account for 2 to 3 kilos. Now, again, you're not going to, when you jump on the scales, oh, put on 2 to 3 kilos, absolutely you've put on 2 to 3 kilos. That's okay, and that's what's supposed to happen. The problem is when you put on 14 kilos or 15 kilos or things like this. You know, you want to stay, as I said, a default setting, having a healthy relationship with your body, having a healthy relationship with food. Again, I don't think that it needs to be this long, convoluted reverse dieting and adding calories back in slowly. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's just more about getting clear on yourself and why you do it for, and making decisions from that place. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed that answer. If you like more, check out our enterprise blog at Melbourne Personal Trainers /blog. There's plenty of blogs there. We do one at least every week. So enjoy, and see you on the next video.